So on the day, in the afternoon, I was attending a hearing, two sets of hearings actually, one set with Ms. D'Ambrosio and one set with another agent. The issues were common to both proceedings. They had both been improperly pressured by developers to the contractual relations had been interfered with. They had made effective applications to VCAT. The applications were kicked out on both instances. They were very disappointed by the outcome. Now, during the VCAT hearing, another thing that I was really upset about was that the way the matter was being presented to the landlords was as if I or the company had been at fault. Our communication was not being forwarded, and the legal ignorance or the incompetence of the landlords was also not being conveyed to the landlords. So tactically, what I wanted to do was get matters on the VCAT transcript. So if the landlords were wise enough to at least want firm evidence of what was going on, they could hear what was going on. So I would normally contextualize matters far more than would be necessary just for the VCAT member to decide the case. And in doing so, I would refer to the general incompetence by giving examples, the general incompetence of the real estate agents by giving examples. Now, Ms. D'Ambrosio started taking objections that day to those things, and she started becoming very confrontational, not necessarily in comparison to me, but in comparison to how she would normally behave. I was also confrontational. The member thought that it was not an appropriate way to conduct the hearing, so they called the PSOs in the hearing room, simply because we were not listening and talking over each other and so on and so forth. The PSOs that were called were PSOs Benning and Smith. Mr. Smith had not been involved in the events of the morning. Mr. Benning had been. So I tell the member that, in my view, PSO Benning is a thug, and I repeat that several times, and that he should not be, and that he had assaulted my employee. I wanted Mr. Benning to know how strongly I felt about what he had done. Because specifically, when Mr. Yusuf was being assaulted, and this is in his police statement as well, he was told that he was being questioned because he was a Kuksal crony. So what happened?
He called us a bunch of cronies, Kuksal's little boys, and he asked for my name, and I had my computer out, and I said, "What for?" Then he smashed my computer on my fingers, and I went to stand up, and he pushed me back onto the chair.
Sorry, where were you?
I was waiting in the foyer, waiting on the chair.
And he approached you?
That's correct, because he said, "Due to what happened the other day, I need your full name and address." Way after the mark.
Straight? That's how he introduced the conversation?
Yes, that's right. He assaulted me. And then he was on the police. He had 3 others with him. I pulled it all. I managed to put it on after this happened. I should just...
Sorry, were there cameras there?
No, I checked. He knows where there's no cameras. I already checked. It's a camera-free area of the hallway. I checked. I asked for witnesses. Innocent people there. I said, "Please, can I have a witness?" Everyone ran away. I said, "Can I have a witness, please?" People don't do that. People are scared. They run. What is your full name and address? Sorry, what is your full name and address?
Colin Benning.
Colin Benning.
Detective Services Unit.
So he attacked you unprovoked.
What is your date of birth? What is your date of birth? Pursuant to section 458 of the Crimes Act,
is there anything else you want?
To ensure your
Is there
appearance
anything else you
before the
want?
court,
Is
I
there
need
anything
your
else you
date of
want?
birth.
Get your foot off the door.
Your date of birth.
Get your foot off
I'm
the
not
door.
going to do that. I
This
need
is a
your
public
date of
space.
birth.
You can call the police. There's no need to be aggressive. Sorry, there's no need to be aggressive.
I need your date of birth. Call the police.
No need. You're pushing me. You're pushing me. Call the police. Call the police.
Call the police.
Call the
Call
police.
the police.
Call the police. You don't need to assault
Section
people.
458.
Call
If
the
not, I
police.
will arrest you.
For what?
Continuation or repetition of the offence and to ensure
Call the
the
police.
appearance of
Please
your
call the
person
police.
before the court.
Shut up.
So I wanted Mr. Benning and everybody there to understand the extent of his improper conduct. I called him a Nazi, because he had his head shaved and tattoos on the forearms and he was assaulting brown people. And I called him a thug. And the member, I think, inquired if there were other PSOs available that day, but there weren't, so there was nothing that could be done about it. Anyway, the matter concluded in our favor. We started moving out. The PSOs just remained, and they thought that they should, just stay with the other parties and let us go out first. Now, tensions had arisen considerably after Mr. Benning had arrived, because I didn't want him to be involved in the matter. His presence was offensive to me, given that he had assaulted one of my staff earlier that day. So I collect the orders and I start moving out. As I'm moving out, now, it had taken us some time to collect the orders from the registry. They were being printed and so on and so forth. By the time we were exiting the building, the person with me, Mr. Filer, he noticed that Mr. Benning was speaking with Ms. D'Ambrosio behind closed doors, the glass doors, VCAT. He said, "Isn't that improper, given that she was a witness to the events this morning?" And I said, "Of course it is." So the whole thing was on recording. I wanted to capture on recording. So I wanted to go next to him, capture on recording that they were talking. So what I had planned to do was walk up to them, say, "You're talking to Lena. Obviously this is improper given that this has happened," so on and so forth. Get him to say something that acknowledged that that was actually happening, so we could use it in evidence against Mr. Benning. The moment I started walking toward the glass door, Mr. Smith interjected. He physically pushed me. I have a recording that captures that. He actually conceded that. Not the number of times he did, but the fact that he did. He said that I could not go there. I asked him why. He said, well, he didn't have a response. Ultimately, he said, "Do you know what breach of the peace is?" I did actually know what breach of the peace was in quite a lot of detail. I didn't react to that, but I did tell him that if he touched me again, I would place him under citizen's arrest. He touched me again. I told him that pursuant to Section 458 of the Crimes Act, I was placing him under citizen's arrest for unlawfully assaulting me. There was obviously some more exchange. They then started freaking out because we had done that before to Mr. Benning. Now, the moment he assaults me, I ask everybody to call the police, including the PSOs. The PSOs don't want to call the police because they're embarrassed by the events of the morning. Now, Mr. Filer then calls people at the office and asks them to make to call the police over, because he wants to not take up any time. He was actually recording the events, and they were being recorded on my phone as well, but we wanted to make sure that if something happened to me, he could take my phone and preserve the recording. So he wanted to be present and aware. He asked the office to call 000 and report that the PSOs were acting violently. I made it a point to not retaliate that day. I was being assaulted. I did not push back. I simply did not cooperate, as was my right. I mean, I would have been within my right to retaliate, but I did not. just so we have a clear case against the PSOs. Now, essentially, they tried to, again, I was mocking Mr. Benning about the events of the morning as things were happening. At some point, Mr. Benning flips. He was visibly outraged, and it was a very visceral reaction. The events were captured on the audio recording. Mr. Filer spoke about it extensively. They tried to first grab me and push me out. It doesn't work. So then they basically try to get me onto the floor. Now it's really hard because I'm not pushing back. And they somehow grab my legs and so on and get me on the floor. And then they start choking me. At which point I say, I will go out now. Or I want to speak with a customer service person or my lawyer. And then they say I'm under arrest. And then they start choking me. So I relent and let them put the handcuffs on.
Get down on the ground.
Get down on the ground. Like you're under arrest. Get down on the ground. I'm going to speak with Rob. Get down on the ground. I need to speak with a lawyer. Get down on the ground. I need to speak with a lawyer. Get down on the ground. I need to speak with a lawyer. Get down on the ground. I need to speak with a lawyer. Get down on the ground. I need to speak with a lawyer. Get down on the back off. I'm nowhere near you. Get down on the ground. Get down on the ground. I can't breathe. 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 I'm getting hurt.
Put your hands on your back.
Take this.
Put your hands behind your back.
I can't. You've locked them.
Roll over on your stomach.
You've locked them. No.
Roll over on your stomach.
No. No. I am happy to speak with the policeman. Put your hand behind your back. Put your hand behind your back. I can't.
Roll over.
Okay. I don't want you to deal with me because you attacked me before.
Roll over.
Why did you not do that? He likes it. No, he likes it. He likes it, Benning. Mr. Benning, he's enjoyed this. That's fine. I'm not fighting you. I'm not fighting anybody. You are. You don't have the right to do what you're doing. Oh, she's here. Look, she's going to find her. Video. Pick her up. Tell her up. She's video? No. I hope not. Go tell her now. Don't fucking sweep my fingers. Who the fuck do you think you are? You see how this is? This is a problem, baby. How long is more taking? Don't be in custody, something roll over. You're not going to be handcuffed. You're not going to be breathing. And then you're going to sit up. You're not going to be breathing. Make it comfortable. But up until such time as you stop struggling. You understand? Stay on the ground. Stay on the ground.
And they're saying, by the way, as I'm saying I can't breathe, they're saying it's normal. If you want to breathe, or if you want to, have the ordeal end, let us handcuff you.
It's normal.
And I would have sooner died than let them handcuff me, because it was a point of principle. So I don't. Now, everybody is very stressed out, the security officers and everybody, because of what's happening. They were literally choking me with the elbow to my neck. We've done a lot of research about the unlawfulness of choking techniques and so on. none of which I will refer to today because that's not what the issue is. Now, those are the events of the day. When the police arrived, there were 2 police calls that were made, one by my staff, one by one of the other parties in the proceeding. Other things to note that I'll cover in 30 seconds are that Ms. D'Ambrosio was hysterical. She was laughing and video recording me as I was getting assaulted. And obviously I was not cautioned. In fact, they made up the arrest thing as they were lying on top of me. I mean, there's nothing I could do at that point in time. The other part is that the business for the day had ended in VCAT. We were not obstructing anything. We were not in the customer service area. We were in one secluded part of the court or the VCAT building. And this was simply them getting outraged by the fact that they thought that I wasn't getting scared of them like everybody else would.
All right, I'll look out for you there. I'm looking at it now. It's not bleeding, okay, sir?
The blood flow is going to stop. I have carpal tunnels. I have carpal tunnel. You need to remove the thing. Okay. The sergeant on the day had made notes that she was worried about the fact that Benning had placed his elbow on my neck, and that if I wasn't charged, Benning would have to be charged with unlawful assault. She had also, I wanted them to be charged. We kept writing to Sergeant Watson and everybody else. They didn't even take our statements. Mr. Wells, a false affidavit that Mr. Filer, who was the only eyewitness to the events, his statement was never taken. He went to the police station that very day, that evening, to give a statement. The police didn't take his statement. He was told that he would be called. He wrote several emails, contacted the police. His statement was not taken. I have produced evidence of him writing to Victoria Police to say that he needs to give a statement. It's caught in the body cam footage that he wants to give a statement. They're not taking a statement. His was the only eyewitness testimony. He was next to the people. It's also worth noting that all the security officers on site also gave statements 2 years later. All they say is that I was being violent, in violently clinging on to life as they were trying to choke me. But none of them talk about what time the police arrived. It's very conspicuous that none of them talk about what time the police arrived, because they would have undoubtedly known what the time was and they didn't want to perjure themselves as well in marrying up the evidence with Mr. Wells' and Benning's evidence. Now, I go back to the email that I was reading. I have the charge of resist PSO on duty already, just trying to determine what the correct offense is, blah, blah, blah. Now, Ms. White writes to Mr. Wells and says, I've been through a few acts trying to work out the best option. It seems, after a quick review, there may be some options under the Summary Offences Act, keeping in mind PSO designated review. There may be some options under the Summary Offences Act, keeping in mind PSO designated area. I had a chat with one of the sergeants here. We think as the charges aren't authorized yet, best to contact the prosecution frontline support unit. The most important email, and it's very conspicuous here, is an email from Mr. Frank Holzer, who was the acting inspector working for the Protective Services Unit. So he was the, direct boss, well, a few levels further up, of PSOs Benning and Smith, and from his position likely involved in the policies and from what he writes. So he writes to Mr. Wells after Mr. Wells writes to him to inquire about what charges can be brought. And he says, sorry for the delay. Here is some legislation to assist you with your question. Then he quotes the Court Security Act, Section 2, which defines a number of things. Then he goes on to Section 3, the various subsections. And then he notes for Mr. Wells, very relevantly, that we use Crime Act Section 458 for a power of arrest, if there is no power of arrest in the Act. Now, they have not pressed that I was charged under 458 for half a day, then taken to the other station where I was released without the interview being conducted because they didn't have the evidence yet to question me. So, Your Honor, as far as an offense under the Court Security Act is concerned, one cannot arise because I was not cautioned as per subsection 11 of section 3. I was only arrested after I placed them under arrest. There's evidence of that. And under Summary Offences Act, which they're pursuing because I resisted their arrest, I first have to be placed under lawful arrest. What they've done is doctored the VCAT evidence such that it appears that an hour from the incident has been removed because they wanted to hide the time for which they were strangling me. And this is evident from the body-worn footage, camera footage of Harris and Yap. We have evidence from the body cam footage, which captures the CCTV cameras on the floor, that there were far more cameras on the floor. They have basically removed or not provided us footage of the actual incident. They've only provided they've only provided 3 camera angles. We counted at least 5 or 6 more cameras in the area that directly caught the thing. The camera angles that they've shown don't capture the bulk of the event. Even for the camera angles that they've presented to us, there is internal inconsistency. So the lift foyer VCAT, the CCTV camera, attributes a different timing to events compared with the entry and exit CCTV cameras. So, for instance, in the lift foyer CCTV camera, the police have arrived on site as early as 3:27 p.m. The other 2 cameras record until 3:33 p.m. and the police have not arrived. All cameras abruptly stop at 3:33 at the latest, because in Benning's narrative, that's when PSOs Harris and Yap had arrived on the day. According to the body-worn footage, it was 4:30. Also, Mr. Broderick Wells is caught in communication, asking Paul Harris and Andy Yap for editing access to their CCTV footage, body-worn camera footage, so he could make some alterations to the evidence.